Grace and peace. Welcome to Judah's Roar Domestic Violence Awareness Initiative YouTube channel. I'm your host, Apostle Cheryl. This week's topic is segment 2. It's part 2 of what is impression management. So welcome back to our discussion. Now, if you haven't watched part 1, make sure you go back and watch it as well, okay? In part 1, we discussed 5 tactics or techniques that are frequently utilized in abusive relationships. Number 1, we discussed aligning actions. Number 2, alter casting. Number 3, ingratiation or flattery. Number 4 was exemplification. And number 5 is the one that people are most familiar with, and that's intimidation. Now, as I said previously, if you missed part 1, make sure you go back and watch that. In this segment, we will discuss some additional impression management tactics. Okay, let's get started. Remember now, impression management is used to either reinforce current opinions or to change them depending on the goal of the one engaging in the behavior, the one using the tactic or the technique. The purpose of impression management is to reinforce current opinions or to change them, depending on the goal. And the goal is pre-established most times, okay? It is the control of information, right? It's the control and the manipulation of how that information is perceived and processed once it is received or experienced. The focus is on spreading information that supports how they want to be perceived by others, and thereby causing their audience to form opinions and make decisions based on information biased or skewed information. Okay, what am I saying? They want to impact and control what you do with the information that you receive. They want to influence how you process it, what conclusions you come to, and they want to control your thought process and any decisions that you may make as a result of what you believe you have perceived, okay? So often it's used to establish or preserve someone's social standing or their position, okay? It's used to either establish a position or to preserve a position. First, let's take a look at supplication. Supplication is defined as when an individual points out their weaknesses in order to seem needy for help. Supplication is when a person points out their weaknesses so as to appear needy for help. Now, why is that so impactful? Because if it's a weakness that is generally recognized, then they appear to be being transparent, right? And honest and open and forthcoming. And so they will present this weakness that everyone knows that they have. They will acknowledge it as opposed to denying it in an attempt to appear needy. This is considered a passive form of impression management. Often it's used when the victim expresses a desire to leave the relationship. And it can look something like this. I need your support to successfully complete counseling, 12-step recovery program, my probation. I need your support. No one understands me better than you do. I am too weak to do it without your support. I've only gotten this far because of your help. How will I do it without you? Now, taken to the extreme, it can sound something like this. I can't live without you. If you leave, I can't live. I can't breathe. I can't move without you. Okay? That is supplication. All right? Number 2, redirection. Redirection is exactly what it sounds like, shifting someone's attention or focus from one subject to another subject, or switching their perspective from one position to another. An example of redirection would be changing the subject or discussing information from a new perspective. Well, now, I know that it's hard to live with me sometimes because, I can be difficult. But I had a really rough childhood. And if you view it from that perspective, maybe it would help you to better understand how to interact with me successfully. Okay. Redirection, or just changing the subject. Just changing the subject. You're talking about the fact that I yelled at you, but why did I yell at you? Have you ever tried to stop and think about maybe how you caused me to yell at you? Viewing from another perspective. I call it the bait and switch. Okay, number 3, self-disclosure. Giving information about yourself in order to establish an identity. And often abusers will do this early on in the relationship. They may make sure that you understand that they are financially stable. They might make sure that you understand that they are well educated or that they are well connected in the community, that they are connected with people who have a stellar social standing. They are connected to people in law enforcement or in ministry. And so the purpose of this is to place themselves in a context in which you view them as powerful. Number 4, managing appearances. This is often done throughout the relationship, right? To squash any thought of exposing them, managing appearances, because for an abuser, appearances are everything. They want to appear powerful, but they want to appear acceptable to others, okay? So using props, appearance, emotional expressions, or associations with others to create a positive image. An example of this would be name dropping, mentioning connections with important and powerful people, putting themselves in the same category with people that they know that you admire or respect, um, connecting themselves with those who are automatically given credence. I have friends in law enforcement. I have friends at the courthouse. I have friends in the governor's office. I'm friends with the CEO at your job. Things like that. What have we been talking about? We've continued our discussion um, of impression management, and we really want you to understand how it might present or manifest in a domestic violence relationship, in a toxic relationship. Okay, so one last tactic or technique that we want to touch on, we think it's important, is conformity, and that is upholding social norms, aligning your behavior with expectations in specific settings. What that essentially means is bringing behaviors into alignment with what is accepted in specific settings, behaving one way at church, behaving another way at home behind closed doors, behaving a certain way on the job. Okay. And so abusers often master this, they conform depending on what setting they're in, but it's not long lived. And it can fluctuate from setting to setting. Now, the other thing is that victims and survivors also engage in conforming behavior. The reason that a victim or survivor would engage in conforming behavior is often to stave off the abuse, to avoid the displeasure and the disdain and the anger of the abuser. So, again, we've been talking about impression management. We all engage in impression management from time to time, but in toxic relationships, oftentimes it is over the top. It is over the top. And all of these tactics and techniques, when used this way, really could fall into that category of coercive control techniques that abusers will use to gain control and maintain control of their victims. Again, this is Apostle Cheryl with Judas Road Domestic Violence Awareness Initiative. We hope that these videos have been helpful to you. Remember, if you didn't see part 1 of impression management, what is impression management? Make sure you go back and check that out. Know that we are pulling for you. We believe that you are amazing and that there is nothing that you can't accomplish if you put your mind to it. You be safe out there. Blessings to you.